Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be going over my new daily driver, affectionately named Green Bean. This is a 1999 Toyota Corolla LE with a 5-speed. Yeah, I still drive the I don't drive the BMW. If you guys know and watch the channel, I have the E39 540i. But basically, it had an issue, and I just wanted to needed to get a more reliable car, and also way better on gas. So we're going to do a review today and a full walk around and what I would recommend when looking for one of these Corollas, and so far I really like the car, but we'll get into the walk around. Okay guys, so like I said, this is a 1999 green shade. In the sun, it actually kind of is a pearlescent, like kind of color changing. It has like hues of like purple if you like kind of look in the shadows. And it's actually a really good color. I like the way the car looks. Obviously, this car, I will say, is really high mileage, and it has been all over the country. So it's dinged up or whatever, so you can actually see it's had a front impact here. You can see there's a gap. I can stick my freaking finger in the gap and this dent here. And it's all rock chipped up here. But yeah, these 99 Corollas, this generation of Corolla is, you know, the ones that at the time were like flying off the shelves. Like this was during an era before like the SUV and the small CUV dominance. So it's like everyone had one of these, not a RAV4. Like, okay. That's popular now, and people drive pickup trucks every day and stuff nowadays, at least where we live. But this was when the sedans were the cars of the road, and they were everywhere. So these cars were really cheap back in the day. I don't know the MSRPs. I bet these things were less than 20 grand at the time for sure, well under, and adjusted for inflation, probably around that number or something like that. But like, this is the type of car in 1999 that your parents would probably like get you if you were going to college. But this is also the same car that they would get you in 2025 because cars are so expensive now and life is different. But this is a really great car. It is a 5-speed, and there are automatics ones of these. But as far as the 5-speed goes, we'll talk about it more like driving it. But it's been a lot of fun. This is my first manual car, and I've been driving it for about 3 weeks, so I'm not super good yet. But the 5-speed on this thing is a great learner. It's a really lightweight car. The engine, first of all, it's so light and that you're not gonna like damage the gearbox with the weight of the car, like banging the clutch or anything. I don't know. It's just a great learner car. It's been easy for me to learn on. But yeah, we'll walk around the car a little bit more. Sorry, I'm talking. But this thing actually does have a pinch. Also, really interesting about this car specifically, it came from Pennsylvania, from Bobby Rahal Toyota Lexus. If you guys don't know who Bobby Rahal is, he is an IndyCar driver, an old IndyCar driver. I think he's either dead or still alive, but he had dealerships out there. So this car is actually from Pennsylvania. It's really clean underneath. I'm really surprised. I think it was then driven in the Midwest. It was owned by like a church member or something. You can see the Dove sticker and stuff, and it has like these ministry like parking pass stickers on it and stuff. But that's just like a little bit about this car specifically. But it is an LE, so it actually does have some pretty good options. It is a power window, power locks. That definitely on the lower trims. What are the lower trims at the time? It's probably what CE, and then there's probably another one in there. No, because they definitely did not have the S's came right, I think final model year of this generation, like 2001 or something, or later on. And then the next generation, Cameron has had that Corolla. I wish kind of he still had it so we could do a comparison, but I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like this one more cosmetically. The other one's a little more bulbous and kind of like brr, and those ones have really paint issues. These ones do not. I mean, it's not like the best paint in the world, but it's definitely like his was all moon roofed out, like completely faded off, and this one is holding up really well. But yeah, it's a pretty basic car. There's not really much to talk about the exterior. It's a freaking Corolla. And then up here, I'm gonna change I'm just gonna actually get all new headlight and blinker assemblies. I probably won't replace that one. I'll just get one blinker, and then I'll do 2 new headlights because these are fogged out, and they're so cheap that it's really not worth it. Like going through and like trying to shine them up and everything. And also the bracket on the back of this side specifically, I believe, is kind of bent or damaged or something, so the bulb is pointed up in the air, and I basically have one super dim headlight. It's not great. But we will go inside right now, and we'll kind of take a look at the interior. Okay guys, so I'm gonna sit in here real quick. You can just see it's cloth seats and everything. I am a little over 6'2", almost 6'3", like with shoes on, I'm over 6'3". And I barely fit in this thing. Like, especially driving the 5-speed where your left foot's actually doing something up on the clutch and stuff. I barely fit in this thing. The seat is all the way back and pushed over the top notch actually, half the time. So like, when I sit in it, I like click it back and then it like is out of notch, but it's pushed all the way back, so it's fine. But anyways, it's so if you're like 6'5", don't get one of these. You will fit. And it's not like the most uncomfortable car, like, but driving a manual in here, you want leg space and stuff. But yeah, it's all cloth. The seats have actually held up really well. This is like totally bus seat fabric and whatever. It's cool. But it's all just like basic door panels and everything. This is what you're gonna get. But the switchgear works everywhere in this car. It's great. It's really awesome. It works. It's super Toyota reliability on the actual switchgear and everything. It does have power mirrors, which is super dope. You can adjust the brightness of the display and everything. There's this little storage pocket here. It's a simple interior. There's not much to really like dive into. There's no special won't. And you can see that the door handles break. So this is actually a common issue. On this side, you can see this is kind of where there's a little pin in there and it sits in there and it will pull the wire to unlock the door. And basically this is a common issue for this era of Toyota, or this Corolla, where the door handles break, and mine is broken there and actually in the back seat. Okay, so now if you want to look at the back seat, if you're actually thinking about pulling people around in this car, which probably wouldn't recommend because that's the seat all the way back, and I'm not even gonna try to get in there. You can see how close it is. So you need a pretty short front seat driver. It's for kids back there, probably, is what I would say. Then I'll show you the trunk as well. It's a normal trunk, yeah. And it also does that, which is super great. It just spills water in there every single freaking time. But it is pretty big, and the seats do fold down. And on top of that, it's fully carpeted, which is really nice, or at least kind of this like board with a felt on top carpet, which I do appreciate that. Because a lot of these lower trim cars, economy cars, sometimes it's just like one piece of carpet in the middle and it's just completely bare metal on the sides, which isn't great for noise. Yeah, we'll talk about the noise and everything as far as, NVH when we drive it. But let's go into the hood next and see the power plant of this beast.
All right, so under the hood there is the, I believe it's the 1ZZ FE. It is a 1.6 liter inline 4. This is the early version. So the early Corollas had a metal intake. Same thing with the Celicas from this generation. This is a non-VTI, and it has a waste spark system. So you have two coils on the side instead of coil on plug. The newer versions, like the Corolla that I owned, has VVTI and a plastic intake with coil on plug, which is a little bit better. And the 2000s and 2001s of this version have the coil on plug, and I believe they might have the VVTI. All around, this is a really reliable engine. The only problem with them is like sometimes the timing covers leak, which is right on the side, but those are just no big problems with them. They get about 30 mpg depending on how you're driving it, and you get a little bit better gas mileage with the manual compared to the automatic. They are not powerful. You do not have, it's got about 120 horsepower and similar torque. It's not anything crazy. As you can see, this is the bracket that he was talking about that's broken. It's kind of like clicked out of place. And, it's pretty simple. Everything is pretty open. You have pretty good access to everything as far as like on the back side and the front side and everything. There's really not much to it. This does have regular power steering, so it still has a power steering pump and everything, whereas some of the newer cars have electric power steering. You got just your alternator. It does have AC, which is awesome. I think that was standard by this time.
I don't know, but it works great.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's an early Toyota, so it does have like the weird diagnosis plugs in here, but
Cool.
I mean, it's
really clean under it, actually.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
New,
Yeah, it's got some newer front shocks. I think there's a little bit of a clunk in the back, and I think it probably needs a new motor mount here and there because they look kind of old. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for under the hood. I think we'll go ahead and get Jacob behind the wheel and see how he's driving.
Okay guys, so on the odometer, you can see this thing has 242,000 and 800 miles. That's how reliable this thing is. And this thing's kind of a peach. It's definitely dinged up and da-da-da. But, like, this thing is not like you're driving it and the wheels are falling off feeling, okay? I will preface right now, I'm not super good at stopping, starting. Also, Cameron, holy shit, he put the e-brake up and it's like, fucking... He loves strong arm and e-brakes. It does have a check engine light. I think we ran the code and it was like it was an emissions thing. The car has been running great and the gas mileage hasn't been weird or anything. I do want to record the gas mileage as far as like doing it from a tank full and then seeing actually calculating it out and seeing what I get, because there's no like trip computer or anything. That is kind of disappointing. I wish it did have a more trip computer options, but it does also have cruise control. I will know. I haven't tried it yet, but okay. So the clutch is really light, by the way. Why are you looking at me like that, Karen?
No, I'm just trying to get good.
What the fuck? Okay.
Frame. I'm looking at the camera.
He's giving me side eye. I'm just joking. Yeah, it's a small car in here, so it's you can just point at the road or whatever you want. Or, yeah, you can point at me when you feel like it. Anyways, I'm just gonna kind of doodle around the parking lot while I talk, but kind of talking about what this car is good for. Basically, anyone that is frugal, because this car is the epitome of frugality. This car was $1,900, and it is a nice one. Like, there are other ones that are like $1,000 that run. Well, maybe they'll be automatic, or it'll be like a clapped manual, probably just a clapped manual. It is definitely slow in traffic, and it's kind of hard at a stop sign, or not stop sign. Stop signs aren't bad. Stop lights where people leave quickly, and you're like, oh shit, and it's like you just have no torque, so it's like, oh, you got to get the revs up, and then you sound like a douchebag, like ring, ring, and you like taking off. So it's kind of hard to keep up with traffic just on stop start, like stoplight really quickly. So I just wouldn't recommend the manual if you're like a super congested area all the time. I think in general people don't like driving manuals in like rush hour traffic, but that's like a known thing. This is a great car for any young person or any person that wants to drive manual, or if you want an automatic one just as a cheap car. I can't think of a better car for this price, because we have had other 2011 cars, the big ones. You know, we've had same gen Camrys, we've had next gen Camrys, we've had similar gen Accords, similar gen Civics too, and all of those, for a nicer example, are gonna run you a bit more money, and you can still find one of these for like under $2,000, a pretty nice one. And I know that my windshield's cracked, and it's like, okay, how can you call this car nice? But it's like, compared to the other 26-year-old Corollas with 200,000 miles, this one's much nicer, trust me.
This one's also quieter than the next generation.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Because like when I talked about like, oh, the carpeting in the trunk, that's something the next gen is not as nice as. It's like this plasticky board thing, and this one has that too, but it has more of it, and up the sides is actual carpet. Sorry, there's rich people around driving Rivians. They're just scared of this thing though. So yeah, I call this thing Green Bean just because it's so small. Oh yeah, I do have the classic Toyota Wiggly Wheel. Just where like the foam basically comes undone, the adhesive just wears out and stuff. You know, like unless you're literally driving like this the whole time. Like, I don't know who does that, especially in a manual. It's weird because you want your left hand over here. But driving the car has been totally fine. But if you're really someone that's like, oh, I have a 45-minute commute, don't buy this. Do not buy this. You're gonna get sick of it. You're gonna be like, oh. I will say though, the heat works really good in this car. But like I said, shorter commutes, definitely prime for this car. If you need a town car, or you kind of live on the back roads or something where it's like not super congested, this is a great vehicle for that. And then also, like I said, learner car. Sorry, these people are gonna go. And also, this all happens all the time. It's really annoying in the manual, where you have to kind of like roll and wait. But like, I'm kind of like on it, and these people are pulling away from me, and I'm like giving it pretty good beans. And they, like, that guy's in a 750 IL, so. But I guess you're gonna kind of feel small, and you're gonna kind of get blown around when big cars are around you, and you're like on a bridge, and the wind's gonna blow you around. But if you want a cheap car, there's nothing better. I just think that the reliability and the dependability and the interior working so well, because that's one thing on old cheap cars, like the Accord we had, it was busted up in here. The buttons weren't working. There were things, the AC was freaking out, and the transmission was terrible and everything. Like, Toyota just does the economy car thing the best. They do it a lot better than Nissan as well. That shit is gonna break. Nissan, they're cheap too. I'm just not a big Nissan fan. It's not a personal thing or like whatever. It's just the ones I've seen and ridden in, I'm like, I would rather be in a Honda or a Toyota, preferably a Toyota, as far as cheap cars. And there's a lot of fun Nissans and stuff out there. Yeah, and then also like other options around this price range are like, oh, you get a domestic, like an old Escort. Don't buy that. That's really slow. This thing can keep up with traffic. Don't buy an Escort. Don't go buy a Taurus. This is a great car, and don't be scared by the high mileage numbers that you're going to see about these things, because all of them have high mileage. Sorry, I'm driving. Going from a E39 to this was definitely different. If you like drive down a road with gravel or like dirt or whatever, it's gonna go ding 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 ding, and you're gonna think your car's like braking or whatever if you're used to like a nice sound dead insulation car. But that's just all economy cars are like that. So it's not a specific thing to this car, but it's going to feel sometimes like it's too small or like it's kind of wimpy or whatever. But I can tell you right now, I feel great. It's planted at high speeds. Oh, that's another thing. Talking about driving fast on the highway, you don't really want to do more than 70. It totally will, but like that's when you get like, oh, I'm on a ever so slight curve and I'm going 70 miles an hour, and that's like I'm floating. Like I'm not planted on the road like most modern cars are going to have better driving dynamics, or an old Beamer or something like that is going to have better driving dynamics. Just a bigger car will in general. So like even the Camry drives great on the freeway compared to this thing. But yeah, I would say this thing is a total yes. I've been super happy. And the best part is because of how cheap these things are, I don't feel like I need to, it's like, oh, if I wanted to get a better car someday, I don't feel like I need to sell this thing to get the money back out of it. It's like, this thing was literally $2,000. This is like $2,000 insurance policy if your really expensive car breaks and the bill's like $5K. It's like, oh, now I can just drive this because this is so cheap. Literally basically what I did. But the Beamer turned out to be quite a bit cheaper. We were lucky. It was just the water pump exploded basically, not the transmission. We thought it was the transmission. So, but that's why I actually bought this car. This is my car. Nobody else bought this car for me or anything. And I'm actually very happy with the purchase. 10 out of 10. Would recommend getting yourself a green bean. This is hard to talk while driving manual and thinking about turning and stuff. But yeah, I was a little bit afraid of driving a manual car, to be honest. But I can't think of a better one to learn on, because a big truck is going to be, if it's a big truck, it's going to be like, shit, I got to park this big thing and I got to adjust it and everything. I can parallel park this thing. Like, it's so small that I'm not afraid of using a stick to parallel park and stuff. It's easy to adjust. It's so light, it'll adjust easily. And yeah, so yeah, I would totally get one of these. Don't buy a Nissan Sentra or something. Yeah, sounds terrible. And then as far as older versions, I don't know. I think this is kind of like the best for this price. And then the next gens are quite a bit more expensive, actually. For a clean one, you're going to be looking at like $3,500 to $4K. Whereas these things, the most expensive ones I've ever seen are like $2,800, and it's like a really pristine one, and the person's still kind of over asking. We'll do like, that was $4,000. Oh yeah, we're not even at the speed limit yet. Yes. That was never full throttle, by the way. But anyways, guys, I've been talking a lot, and just wanted to let you guys know that this is a great car, and you guys should definitely check one out if you need a car for your high schooler or yourself, or want to learn how to drive stick.